Bring a Pringle for the last one.
Okay.
Very nice.
I don't have my agenda. Welcome to Village Hall in the Village of Fairport to Village Budget Meeting number 1, or introduction. It's 6:03 p.m. We're here in Village Hall, and our agenda tonight is to discuss the budget for the 2024-2025 budget. Village Manager White, would you take us through the introduction to the budget?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm pleased to present to you the fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget. We do this every year, and it's really important to really set the tone of what we did, why we did it, what's going on, what's the challenges, the pros and cons of what we're seeing in the organization. And this is a good start at what this is. It's coming to you as it always does every year. It's balanced. It's a good recommendation. I say this to you every year too. Once we deliver this budget and you have it in your hands, it is now your budget. This is the staff's budget, not just mine. We're all fiscal officers here. We all put a lot of time in this based on our operation, understanding our capacity, what's our environment, what do we need to do to maintain that environment and sustain the organization. But once we do this, it's yours. You should feel free to manipulate it, review it, make amendments, changes, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to adopt it and have to stand behind it, okay? A little bit before we get started as well, so obviously today's just a presentation and so forth. We're not going to start getting into budget deliberations and add-ons and amendments and those types of things. I'd like for you to listen to what's going on here. Don't worry about so much what's in it. Don't go look for the last page right now to find out what the tax rate increase or decrease is either. Just pay attention to what's happening. But take this home, digest it. There's a budget message in there. It's about 6 or 7 pages, guaranteed to make you go to sleep. Take a few minutes to read that and see what's going on and what we did and why we did it. It really takes you through the process, and we're going to go through some of that today. I think we meet back here again on, Wednesday, right? So take the time to do that. Have a little notepad next to you. Write down your questions, flag things that you want to talk about, and staff will start being here on Wednesday to discuss what we're doing and answer any questions that you have if we can't do that for you already, okay? All
Can
right.
I just make one comment before
Please.
you go, and then I will let you speak?
Please.
I just want the rest of the board to know how much time our Village Manager White and Megan and your team, how much the management team, how much time they have put in since essentially January 1 into getting this budget together. I can tell you, as someone who's in Village Hall many days a week, that usually there's a meeting going on in the conference room, and I can't find Brian because he's on hour number 6 of budget discussion in the conference room. So before we get started, I want to thank everybody, both you, Megan, and the management team, for all the work that they put into this before we even get started. So thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go through this, give a little bit of a village overview before we get into the budget. I want to thank the board again. We have a fantastic board. The reason why the board is always put into the budget and done this way is because it is your budget. They should understand who the leadership team is here, and that is you first and foremost. You're the one that's elected by the people to be representative and do this. This budget hopefully reflects that in any amendments that you make. Welcome, Trustee Wojcik, to the board, to your first budget process. I hope it's a great one for you and not as painful as maybe some other ones might be. It's a good budget. It's sound. We'll go through it all. But it's a great team. You guys do a great job. You're investing your time, your energy to do this work for the community, and I applaud you for doing it. It's back to the leadership team. You're right, Mayor. This is the group that makes it happen. When I say my 6 hours, everyone here puts in just the same amount of time. It's incredible what happens through this work and what we do. I thank them all. Lauren's not in here because I couldn't Photoshop her in there. This is a picture we took about 2 years ago. Paul Feely was in the place of Mark Lindsay, so it looks a lot of place. His head's the size of a grapefruit, and he's shorter than Matt Barnes, which he's really 6'5". It's the best I could do in my inability to do Photoshop, but I thought it was funny. We put it in. We'll get a new picture made in the future. But this team is the one that makes it happen, and I will tell you, I'd pick this team over anybody any day of the week. High performers. They do a great job. They know what they're doing. They're ambassadors for this place and what they do. They're all fiscal officers, and I can't thank them enough. The budget book form that you see before you lists out like this. You don't look at the pictures, but we go through a village overview, a general fund, capital projects, your sewer fund, your electric fund. Those are the 4 main areas that you do work in here, okay? And then everything in this budget you have for you. It's probably the most transparent budget in New York State. We have a glossary. We have fee schedules, a wage and salary schedule, organizational charts, the detailed general fund and sewer fund budget. So that when I say the detailed budgets, we're going to go through high-level stuff today, graphs, shiny things, makes it look good. Every dollar we spend, every bullet we buy, every piece of salt that we put on a truck is in that budget and accounted for to the penny, and you can look at that and see that. And those are the numbers that we're going to go through when we actually go through this budget and kind of see what's happening and what we're doing. In a later date, we get into some of the more budget discussions. Electric funds in here, and then in our financial policies. You guys have an investment policy, how we invest money. You'll see interest and earnings in here. It's doing pretty well this year. I think we're close to 80 grand-ish. All that's due to the investment policies that you put forth. We've invested that smartly, and we're making some money off of that work. And that's not including the capital plans as well. You have a general fund policy. It tells you how much money you need to have in the bank. What does that mean for your ability to do debt and debt service and incur debt service? So you have that in your cash management policies and also your procurement policies, how we purchase, what we purchase, the fiduciary responsibility that's required to make purchases and make sure that we're doing right by the public's money and spending it accurately. Just some very quick stuff about some of our census. We're around 5,500 people. Doesn't change a whole lot from what we're doing. Our growth is truly maxed out, where infill housing and new developments and densities, how it grows, our ability to, as you know, incur additional assessed valuation via land is not really there anymore, right? We're built out, we're 1.5 square miles of town surrounds us completely. You can't annex property really in New York State, nor would the town of Parenton probably give up property in order for it to annex, because that would just expand our tax base, and why would they do that? Okay. Housing overview. The data is a little old, but it's back to the 20 census when they did it. Jill talked to us the other night. 70% of our current housing demographics is owner-occupied. 30% of it now is rental. It's a little different from what you see there. State average is 50-50 almost for housing, rental, and that. So we're going to get into the general fund. We're looking at about a $7.5 million budget this year. It's up about $160,000 over last year. These are the type of fund accounts that we're going to look at: Public Works, Police Department, contributions to Capital Reserve, health insurance, all of that type of stuff. This slide just gives you a snapshot and a summary of what are the most expensive departments going from greatest to least, and what's happening in those things. Okay. What are we seeing in this budget this year? What are the big differences? What did we have to contend with when we started putting this budget together? This gives you a very brief snapshot in what that is. So are you digging through 200 pages of that budget? And it is 200 pages exactly. What's happening here? This is what we dealt with. This is what we had to figure out to make this thing happen. Remember, 2% of our tax levy is about 50 grand. So if you're looking at about a $200,000 swing up or down in a budget, if we didn't do anything, that'd be an 8% tax levy increase. The levy is the amount of money raised by taxes alone. You'd be contending with that right now. Personnel salary increase is about $42,000. We have that every single year. That's what it is. It's normal, just based on what our budget is. That's common. Information technology, we'll get in all of these types of things. It's up about 50 grand, and it's going to continue to go up. Broken record every single year. Our needs for hardware, software, competencies, networking, fiber, internet, professional support, those things keep getting expanded upon every year. It's the reason why Matt's sitting in here with gray hair. It's a massive, massive undertaking. We don't have an IT director. Matt said he raised his hand 7 years ago when we decided to do this, and he says, I'm going to take it on. I asked him, I called him, do you really want to do that? I got it, Brian, you don't need it. Okay, and I'm glad I don't have it to this day, because I would otherwise. Central garage, police. So central garage went up about 65 grand. We'll talk about that and some extra personnel. New York State retirement health insurance, major contenders. I've kind of done some research throughout the state. Everyone is dealing with challenging budgets this year. The two main things in every article I read was New York State retirement and health insurance. We were facing a 12.5% increase in health insurance. New York State retirement ranged for us between 16 and 20% increases across the board. When you're talking about an $800,000 expenditure line, 20% is a lot of money. And some admin stuff and miscellaneous. So we'll go through all these. So we're going to kind of take this through a very strategic budget process. The reason the board's first is not because we're picking on you. It is because the account center through the chart of accounts that's prescribed by New York State starts with you guys. I think it's A1010, right? And it goes, I'm next, A1230, and it keeps going through that. So that's how this strategically goes through the chart of accounts. We're just not starting there. Village board budgets always stay the same. It's not a big deal. You get your salaries, and then most of it's contractual expenses associated with training. Encourage you to do it. I wish that budget was 200 grand. If you're doing the work, investing in yourself and investing in this community, it's worth every dollar. 2 of you or 3 of you have already signed up for NICOM to go to the classes. I think it's wonderful. Keep doing those types of things. Take advantage of those opportunities when you can and you're not working. It's hard to take off work, take vacation days, do those things. But the point that you can, or find online training, or just come in here and hang out with me for a while. Heidi did a lot of that. She doesn't caulk me much anymore. I think she had enough. It's a great process. It's a learning experience. Every day that you sit up here and you do the work and you go through different scenarios, you're constantly building your capacity. So I applaud you for that, but nothing strange or new or anomalies with the village budget, with respect to their budget center. My office is the same thing. It's strictly almost personnel related. You'll see a little bit difference from the current year to the 24 year, about 5,000 or 6,000. It's really more due to not traveling as much and training. It's hard to do that with kids. Still getting the credentials and the continuing education credits that I require and need to do to stay up in things. But it's a lot with Fairport Electric, and that takes up some of that time. In addition to, we took some grant writing expenses that historically have always been there and just budgeted accordingly, and we've taken that out. Should we ever need to do that, we'll just pull from fund balance or contingency to do that, so it doesn't really go away. Other than that, it's a stagnant budget as always. It's an office of one. Clerk's office, this is the big numbers right here for Megan. Worth every penny. Her office is of 2 people. They handle everything: payroll processing, fiscal advisor, trainings, budget book software, actuarial services, audits, fees, treasury reports. The whole 9 yards comes through that office. Very similar to what we've been doing lately. There will be some changes in Megan's office in the future. She's going to have a retirement. She gets to replace that person with someone else. So she'll be recruiting in the very near future to do that. And we're doing it in a succession planning way where we're going to have some ample time with this new individual, with the existing employee, so that can be some onboarding and making sure that the day that person leaves, the next person's ready to take that on. Megan and I have talked a lot about this. I said, if we don't have this thing correct, it's an office of one now for you, and everything that has to go on, and all that work's going to depend on you. So we're trying to avoid that with all costs. And you'll see this kind of trend going on in that budget. So yes, there's a little bit more money we could have saved this year for projected year end in an effort to not train and have that person onboarded correctly, but it's at the expense of Megan and her sanity later when she's doing that work. Central garage. So you'll see something a little different here. It's generally about 170,000. We're going to 235. Perfect reason for that. We break a lot of our vehicles and equipment. Matt and his team have to fix it. But the cost of doing that is drastically expensive. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of equipment and things that we maintain. We went out finally. We've actually done this for 3 years. There it goes. 3 years trying to get a third mechanic in there. We had them for a while. Things would happen. They may leave, those types of things. We finally got someone in there full time, and they're sticking around. There's a cost to having that. If it does it again, we'll just pop off the mini split. to do that. So we're finally having that up. It's where it needs to be. We have a full-time mechanic shop supervisor that's doing all the paperwork, their procurement, the planning, all the work products and stuff, tracking everything. And then you have 2 mechanics in there that are now doing the work. We are doing significant amount of work maintaining an electric fleet, all the general fund fleet, and now we take it over. Pardon me. We no longer have a third-party contract for our fire trucks and apparatus. We're doing all that in-house now because we have the expertise and the capacity to do that. We used to do that through a contract with Floyd Maintenance. They're no longer in business. We're doing it in-house, so we can do that. Anything that was specific, maybe a pump issue, whatever, has to be rebuilt or relooked at. Those are specialty things that probably would be outsourced, but for day-to-day maintenance, getting these things ready, purchasing the vehicles, getting them into the fleet, and getting them going the way we want to drive them, it's all done by Matt and his team at Central Garage, and they're crushing it. 3 people maintaining all of that. Just cut it.